What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video on the Real Julio FDL channel. Today, we're going to be talking about a very important topic, which is the importance of location in real estate investing. And we're going to be talking about what are the foundations for location analysis. We're also going to be talking about what are the economic factors and local market conditions for profitable real estate investments. What are the neighborhood dynamics and what the heck does that even mean? We're going to be talking about what are demographics and what is target audience? How does that affect my investment? And why the heck do I even need to care about all those complicated topics? And are they even really complicated? We're going to be talking about what's the future growth and appreciation potential? What does that mean? And how do I take advantage of that so I can make profitable real estate investments? And lastly, we're going to talk about a few examples, case studies and examples from the real world so that you guys can go ahead and learn much quicker. So let's go ahead and dive straight down into it so that you guys can be successful. So the first thing is, what is the foundation and the location analysis? So when we start with anything, we need to start with the foundation, the basics. And as the old saying goes, real estate is location, location, location. So understanding location as a key factor is a key component when we go ahead and start investing in real estate. Because if I look to invest in a property as a vacation property in the middle of a crowded city where there is absolutely no tourism, there's nobody coming in for short terms, it is going to be much more challenging than if I go invest into a short-term property for in a place that does allow for or it does welcome short-term rentals, vacation people, and all of those sorts. But that's just one of the small factors that we must take into account. Because location doesn't just mean what are the clients, what is the prospects that I'm going to be getting. It also means what do I have nearby? What things are going to affect my property values? What are going to affect my property income based on the location? How fast am I going to be able to rent my property out is going to be largely dependent on my location. Because if my property is located right besides a place where there's shootings every single day, it is going to be very challenging and highly unlikely that I'll be able to actually rent it for good money and quickly. It's most probably going to go vacant for long periods of time. However, if I get my property in a place that is highly desirable, then I will be able to find a good tenant quickly. And a big question is, why is location often considered a primary driver of the real estate value? And the reason for that is because real estate is based on what are the needs and requirements for people. So let's take, for example, you and me. If you need to work and you need to go to work, you need to find a place that is near enough from your work, but also near enough from attractions, from fun, from family, from friends, from whatever it is that appeals to you. So we need to find properties that cater to most of the people. And that accessibility, because that's what it's called accessibility, is one of the major driving factors that's going to increase property appreciation. The more accessibility your real estate has to the main and basic facilities and needs of humans, which are food, health, shelter, and social interaction, the higher depreciation that property will be able to take. Now, the further away that we are from civilization, from health, from groceries, from all of those basics, the lower the cost will be to acquire. And the reason for that is very, very simple. Where there's more people fighting for something, the higher those prices will go. The less people that there is fighting for something or competing for something, the lower the prices will be. If we go look at a house in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert, it is highly undesirable, so it is quite possibly going to be very, very cheap. However, if we go to this very center of Manhattan, where there's everybody looking to get even a small apartment in there, well, prices are going to be soaring because there is a lot of demand. There's a lot of need for that. So there's a lot of competition. So that is the major driving force: competition, location, accessibility, health, wealth, fitness, because you need all of those things near where you live for you to live a nice, good, comfortable, successful life. So some of the key amenities and services that people need, as already mentioned before, are schools, hospitals, parks, gas stations, grocery shopping, and social activities, social places. Those are some of the hubs that will help you identify if a place would be good to attract people or not. Now, if you position yourself in a path which will have growth, that is also a very, very good investment strategy. And what the fuck do I mean with that? If I find a piece of property that is going for real cheap and there are city plans, city developments for the neighboring area, then I know that within the next couple of years, 5, 10, 20 years, there's going to be a lot of development. So I would be able to get a property for cheap. And once those developments take place and those hospitals, schools, universities, colleges, social life comes in, my property will appreciate in value because it is much more accessible to the things that humans need. So it's all based on needs, why the location is so important. And transportation is also very, very important because not everybody's going to have vehicles to transport themselves. The further away something is from civilization, the more transportation needs there are. The more transportation facilities there are, the less vehicles people will need, making it much more accessible for people who are up and coming, growing, will be able to conglomerate in those areas and just bring wealth, work, employment, diversity into those areas, which will allow for much faster growth. So the transportation logistics is also very important because not everyone has cars, and those who do have vehicles need good ways and means of transporting themselves on the roads. So some of the economic factors and local market conditions, we're going to be starting by local trends and how local economic conditions influence property values. So what the heck does this all mean? Local economic conditions are going to influence the property values because the economy of one place, if there's a lot of money flowing, then there's a lot of people looking to grab a piece of the pie from that money. And I'm going to go back to New York, where there's a lot of people, there's a lot of businesses, and everybody wants a piece of the pie because people know that there's money in New York. So the prices there tend to be more expensive because people are making more money because there's a lot more people going over there. So the more people try to go into those areas, the more wealthier areas, the more the prices will increase. So it's a self-sustaining cycle where economy and wealth drive people to come in, aspiring to live better lives, which in turn creates much more expensive properties because there's much more people looking to become wealthy. And it is very important that when we look at markets, we identify the growing and declining market. So what does that mean? There are markets which are up and coming, and there are markets which are always declining, always up and coming and always declining. That's the two factors in a market, which means growth and lack of growth or declination of growth. So if we notice that there's a lot more movement of economy in a city, we're going to be able to identify that that is growth. That's an upward slope. However, if we start noticing a downward slope in the economic factors, which are people coming in, amount of money being spent, people that are actually opening businesses, people that are traveling to that place, if those line items start declining, we're going to start having a downward slope, which means declination. It means that there isn't growth. Essentially, we need to find ways to bring back people coming in, people buying, people spending money in downward slope areas. And we need to make sure that in upward slope areas, we are able to continue that upward slope. How do we achieve that? By bringing restaurants, by bringing work, by bringing travel, by bringing art, by bringing music, by bringing things that will cause people to spend money and that will further the development of the economy. And that is how we make sure that we identify and manipulate in a positive way the growth of a market. So if you are worried because wherever you're living, you do not see economic growth, that means that there is a lack of something, and it must be created to bring forth people. So that actually takes us to one of the very next very important factors, which is job opportunities and employment centers. So a very key factor for economic growth is jobs and employment centers, places where people can go and make money so that then they can go ahead and spend the money that they made. If people don't make money, they don't get to spend money. If they don't get to spend money, the economy starts going into a recession. So we must look for ways for people to, first of all, make money, and second of all, spend that money that they made. So there's going to be a connection between employment centers and property demand. Essentially, what that means is if there is a need for jobs, there is also going to be a need for housing. If there is a need for housing, then there is an opportunity for us investors to make our money. So we need to make sure that we can find ways to provide for jobs and provide for housing. And not necessarily do we need to focus on the jobs, but we need to make sure that we work so that there's good stimulus for business owners to start expanding their businesses so that they can provide jobs, so that we can provide our services, which is real estate investments, for us to be able to make money and for people to live good quality lives. And another important factor is analyzing employment diversity in the area. So we don't want to invest in a place where every single human being is an electrician, because that is not a sustainable economy. We need an economy where there's diversity. We need plumbers, we need electricians, we need doctors, we need lawyers, we need taxis, we need teachers, we need nurses, we need assistants, we need technicians. We need to make sure that there's a healthy conglomerate of different employment opportunities, because that creates diversity, that creates sustainability within an environment. And that is what's going to allow for places to grow. Because I will need contractors, I will need plumbers, I will need electricians, I will need gardeners. The doctor is going to need somebody to take care of their lawns. They're going to need somebody to clean their houses. They're going to need somebody to go ahead and teach them how to golf. They're going to need somebody to go ahead and teach them how to work out in a more effective way. So we need to make sure that we get to integrate everything. And the more that we understand the economics of the city we're in, the more diverse that it is, the wealthier and the higher potential for money growth we're going to have. So that takes us to point number 3, which is neighborhood dynamics. So neighborhood safety and security, which includes the role of safety in property values. So it is quite easy to understand that a safer neighborhood, a safer place is going to be much more desirable than a place that is unsafe, than a place that is not, good and safe. So the safer places, the more desirable it becomes. So how can we start working with that? If we go invest in places that have been, I apologize for the light, that has really taken me out. So we need to make sure that we invest in places that are safe, because that gives us stability. Now, if we got big pockets and we can own the block, as the saying goes, we could go and invest into a lower end area, which needs a lot more, which isn't as safe. And I'm not saying that all the lower end areas are unsafe, but we could go to an unsafer area, dump a lot of money into that area, rehab and fix that place up so that we can make it safer. And then we can bring other people into that place. And that allows us for capital growth, because we're going to a much lower price point area and turning it into a much higher price point area. So we are forcing appreciation, which is something beautiful to do in real estate, because you get to take something that's bad and ugly and not good for society, and you're turning into something beautiful where people can actually live good quality lives. So by creating that safety, we get to increase and enforce appreciation on all of our properties. Utilizing crime data and community safety reports. So when we look at crime data and community safety reports, oftentimes we can get that from police reports and from police stations in the area. The police stations in the areas are going to be able to tell you how many cars are stolen, how many people are stolen, how many people are killed, how many break-ins are there, how many of each different type of crimes are committed or not committed in each of those areas. And the good thing about that is that that's going to allow us to understand which areas are safer for investments and which areas are not so safe for investing. So once we understand that, we are able to understand that where we need to allocate our money. So the next thing is the community infrastructure and development plans, which we spoke about in the previous video. So or the previous topics, if I look at purchasing a house in a place that has not yet been developed, but there's community development plans or city development plans for that specific area, we're going to see a lot of forced appreciation on that property, because we're going to have a lot more accessibility to whatever it is that's getting developed. Let's say schools, restaurants, shopping centers, there's theme parks. So whatever there is that is creating a lot more interaction for society, it's going to cause for property values to appreciate. So the city planning and development strategies, impact of infrastructure projects on property values. Now, that could also cause for property values to go down. It doesn't necessarily always have to go up, because if the block where this property is situated is in a place that there is a warehouse facility or manufacturing facility which works with dangerous chemicals, then that is not going to be as desirable as a place where it is right besides a warehouse or office spaces which are pretty safe and provides work. So we must also understand what is it that whatever will be built will cause on our society. So anything that's dangerous, chemicals, unsafe, will not help the development of value in property. Anything that provides jobs and good quality of life will provide for property valuations to increase. And that takes us to point number 4, which is the demographics and target audience. So understanding the local demographics, analyzing population trends and demographic shifts. So if you start understanding that people are shifting in certain demographics, certain areas, into more wealthier people coming, we can start seeing an upward slope trend where those property values are going to start increasing. Whereas if we start noticing that there is people with less money coming in, that's probably going to cause for property values to either stay about the same or for prices to start coming down because the people placing bids on those properties are going to start declining. So it is very important to understand what are the demographic shifts that we're having. Are we having more wealthier people come in? Are we having less wealthier people come in? Are we having more middle class, more workers? What's the shift that's happening on the market? So when we go ahead and take that into account, we're going to be able to tailor our investment strategies. And the reason for that is because if we go ahead and take our property and we notice that the people coming into the city are people which are wealthier, which come from higher end areas, then the work that we need to do into those properties, those buildings, is going to have to be much higher end. However, if we start noticing that the people coming in don't have as much money, we're not going to place the luxury finishings. We're not going to place the marble countertops on the kitchens, that we might place PVC or whatever material you guys use in your city. And that's going to make it a lot more affordable for the lower end people to be able to actually go ahead and afford those houses and be able to live good quality lives. Because at the end of the day, investors have a responsibility, not just with whoever they're renting, but with society, to help people achieve better lives, better quality of life by catering to the needs and desires of their market, of their target market, whether that be the lower end, middle class, or high-end clientele. So by tailoring our investments to fit the needs of our target market, we're going to be able to satisfy our needs much faster, much better, and we're going to be able to help them live wealthier, better lives. So that takes us to point number 5, which is future growth and appreciation potential. Factors including future appreciation. So we've already discussed that future plans on those cities can help increase property values. Some of the things that can help increase property values are what you're doing with those properties. Are you making them more appealing for people to come in? And recognizing emerging real estate hotspots, which just means places which are going to have a lot of need based on where the people are moving. So for example, at least as of right now, 2024, people are moving out of California because property taxes are becoming crazy high. It's not safe anymore. The wealthier class is not getting protected. So a lot of the wealthier people are moving out. And where are they going to? A lot of them are going to Texas. Why Texas? Because there's a lot of incentives for wealthier people. A lot of them are coming to Puerto Rico. Why? Because we have benefits and tax benefits for people coming from Texas, where they can have 0 and 4 personal and business tax benefits. And they have a good quality of life here in Puerto Rico. So those are some of the factors that we need to identify. So Puerto Rico is turning into a hub spot for people to come here for the tax benefits that there are. So it is a great place to invest because property values are projected to keep on steadily going up for the next 20, 25 years. So that really makes it very appealing for any real estate investors because you have that security of cash flow and appreciation. So we must also understand the long-term investment strategies versus the long-term because we just spoke about 10, 20 years as our projections. If we're able to see where our investment is going in 10, 20 years, that it seems like a very, very safe investment. Whereas if you cannot see where your money is going to be coming in or where the market's going to be going in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, then that does not seem like a good, safe investment. So strategies for positioning investments in growth areas. So it's essentially what we just spoke about, identifying hub spots. It is identifying places where there's going to be a lot of employment, where there's a lot of need for jobs, where there's a lot of need for entertainment, and positioning yourself early in those places, or at least while the upward slope is still increasing. And so some real life examples can be the Isla Verde and Condado area in Puerto Rico. There's the Dorado area in Puerto Rico. There's the Humacao area in Puerto Rico. And those are there's also Cabo Rojo in Puerto Rico. So the reason those places are hub spots is because they provide some of the basic human needs for anybody to live good, meaningful lives, which are restaurants, there's health places, there's health doctors, medicines, hospitals. There's a lot of entertainment. There's art. There's diversity. And for Puerto Rico, a lot of people coming into Puerto Rico, they look for the beaches. So you have quick access to the beach or beach lifestyle, boating lifestyle in those areas. So that is going to be a real life case example of how location is going to affect property values. So basically that encompasses everything from the location. So we spoke about the importance of location. We spoke about why it's so important to prioritize location of where we invest. And we spoke about how we should base our decision making based on what's going to happen, what's going on, and where do we see the market going from here. So I hope that you guys liked it. I hope that you guys learned something new, and I hope that this was helpful for you guys. For the next 365 days, I'm going to be pushing one video a day for you guys to be able to learn how to properly invest in real estate. So feel free to hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit that notification bell so you guys can get notified with each new video. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.